Good day. This is James, Fitness and Sports Instructor with PSP Kingston. And today we are going to be doing a simple yoga session. So just a quick reminder, for your safety, please ensure to read the full disclaimer that is located in the description section below the video before you start this virtual training session. If you feel that you have sustained an injury during this virtual training session, please seek out medical attention, and if you're a CAF member, make sure to fill out ACF 98. We're going to be doing a simple yoga session. We're just going to be doing some easier movements, just some simple relaxation type stuff, focusing a lot on our midline, core, and spinal flexibility, as well as working through a little bit of full body and hip mobility, and then upper body as well. So full body relaxation and just some simple movements that will take a couple cycles through to just get some accommodation, as well as to reap the benefit through a couple of different cycles through to really get a good feel for the movements and to work your way through. So before we actually get into any of the movements, we're going to just spend a little bit of time focusing on some relaxation techniques to get yourself into a little bit of a parasympathetic relaxed state, or as best we can. So the only equipment that you need today, if you do need any equipment, would be some sort of mat or soft surface if you can find one. If you have a yoga mat or an exercise mat, that would be great. A towel can work as well. So what we're going to actually start off with is find yourself a nice seated, comfortable position. So whatever is comfortable for you in a seated position. And we're just going to work on a little bit of breathing. So we're just going to do a little bit of time here, really deep inhale, exhale, focusing on belly breathing. So we're going to do some manual checking on that breathing, feeling that just to make sure that breathing is, again, diaphragmatic into the stomach and not into the chest. And we're just going to focus on that deep breathing for a little bit here and just try to get into a relaxed state. So sitting up nice and tall, again, whatever a nice comfortable seated position is for you. Again, using your hands on your stomach as a way to kind of feel that breathing. If you can have eyes open, eyes closed, whatever works best for you in terms of relaxing. And again, focusing on some really deep breaths. So we're taking those breaths in through the nose. Through the mouth. Try to breathe slowly as you inhale. Continuing your breathing while I talk through this a little bit. On those inhales, really try and pull that air in and try and bring it down past the chest into the stomach. And when you're doing that, you should feel the rib cage and the stomach expand out. That's your diaphragm just kind of pushing out. Hold for a brief second, and then a nice slow exhale. So try to focus on, as you're continuing your breathing here, 3 to 5 seconds on your inhale, a brief 1 to 2 second pause, and then 3 to 5 seconds on your exhale. So we're just continuing with our breathing here. Again, continuing with that breathing. 3 to 5 seconds. Inhale through the nose. Breathing into that diaphragm, trying to expand that rib cage into the belly, bringing that air down, holding for that second, and then releasing the air nice and slow through the mouth. Again, continuing your breathing here as we're talking through. We're going to use this breathing time, again, as a way to shift your body nervous system, hopefully, into a little bit more relaxed state, into that parasympathetic state, to allow that body to relax. That's going to take some of the tension out of your muscle tissue, bring that nervous system response down, bringing your heart rate down, bringing down your breathing rate naturally. So as you're going through some of these poses, you can still focus on that slow breathing, and you get that benefit from that in that it helps the body to, again, relax that muscle tissue, a little bit of a lowered nervous system response. So if you have any phasic tension in your muscles as a result of any kind of stress, or some people just have generally overtonic and muscle tissue that's a little bit tighter. Sometimes it's a result of training. So we're going to use this time to really try and relax those tissues and bring them into a little bit of a softer state, so we can get a little bit more benefit as we're going through with some of our stretching poses. So we're just going to spend a little bit more time here in our breathing. So again, I'm just talking through here. You should still be doing your breathing. Again, 3 to 5 seconds in through the nose, really deep breaths, bringing that air down past the chest into the stomach, using your hands to palpate and feel that manual feedback of the stomach and the ribcage expanding, holding for a second or two so you can feel that tension through the stomach, using that diaphragm, and then a nice slow exhale. And again, just continuing with that breathing. Again, eyes can be closed to help with that relaxation. Again, hopefully you have a nice quiet space so you can kind of let your mind relax, and hopefully you can maybe throw on some of that relaxing music in the background to bring yourself into that relaxed state so we can get a little bit more benefit from some of our movements. So we're just going to take a couple more breaths here just to finish off. And if you want to slowly just kind of release out your legs crossed, just kind of stretch them out, get a feel again, bring yourself a little bit back to a little bit more of an aware state if you're really kind of deep into that relaxation there. And we're going to move into some of our flowing through some of our poses here. So we're going to start off with a spinal mobility flow. So again, following along to the cues, following along with the movements. So we're going to start with our spinal mobility flow, alternating back and forth between flexion of the spine to round out through the lower back and stretch out the tissue, and then into an extension pose. These are two natural movements of your spine, so we're going to move through those here. So again, bring the hands to the top of the mat, just a little bit back from the mat. Starting off in a bit of a quadruped position, hands and knees. And to start here, pushing back to child's pose. So again, still focusing on that deep breathing, and allow that back to relax, push the hips back, stretch the arms out. And then from here, transitioning slowly into that extension, cobra pose. Again, trying to create some length through the spine here, creating that curvature. Moving through that natural movement of the spine. And then pushing back to child's pose again. Again, moving through those deep breaths, through the diaphragm. And then moving back into extension with cobra. So with the time frame here, you should be getting about 3 to 5 of those deep, slow breaths in each position. And pushing back into child's pose. Again, letting those hips sink back, stretching the arms out, allowing that lower back to just naturally round out and stretch. And transitioning back into cobra. With each transition, seeing if you can get a little bit more movement through the spine, a little bit more extension. And coming back to just that quadrant position, take a minute to reposition. And then just finding a comfortable posture in the seated position. So just somewhere tall, kneeling. You can sit back down if you need to. Just take a minute here before we transition to our next piece. So our next piece is going to be a little bit more of a full body stretch. So take a minute. We're going to reset, hands at the top of the mat. Starting off in a tall plank position, just hold that plank position for a sec there. Feeling that strength through the midline. And stepping the foot forward, beside the hand. Take a minute there, make sure you're positioned well, foot forward and straight, as far up as you can. Rotate that hand up to the ceiling, and hold in this tall position. And bringing the hand back down to the mat. Stepping the foot back. Resetting through the midline, making sure everything's nice and square, and stepping the opposite foot forward, the right foot. Finding your position, and then rotating the opposite hand up to the ceiling. Trying to create a nice straight line through the arms. And bringing your hand down to the mat, stepping back into a tall plank. And from here, pushing up into down facing dog, pushing the head through the shoulders, trying to push the heels down to the mat. If you need to bend your knees, that's fine. You can also pulsate back and forth here, trying to bring each heel down to stretch out back of the leg. Trying to create that length through the spine. And coming back to tall plank. And then relaxing back into a quadruped position. And back into a seated posture. So that's our first cycle through. Again, we're going to keep things nice and simple. We're not going to do too many movements here. We're just going to focus on those 4 movements and just trying to really get a feel for them. And on each one of these cycles, we're going to try and increase our awareness of it and try to get a little bit more range. So we're going back to our first cycle, our spinal mobilization. So bringing the hands up to the top of the mat in a quadruped position to start, and pushing the hips back into child's pose. Allowing that lower back to round out, to relax, hands stretched. And transitioning slowly into extension. Again, focusing on that deep breathing. And then pushing back again into a child's pose. And slowly transitioning back into extension. Again, really trying to create that length through the spine, focusing on that natural curvature. You might feel a stretch on the anterior portion of the core. Pushing back into child's pose. Really trying to create some length through the arms, pushing the hips back. And slowly transitioning into cobra extension. And transitioning back into that quadruped position. Taking a minute to move, cycle through, just to kind of move the spine a little bit again. And then coming back up into nice relaxed tall kneeling posture. All right, switching back to our second sequence. Starting up in a tall plank. Take a minute, find that plank position. Stepping the left foot forward, beside the hand, nice and straight. Rotate that hand up to the ceiling. hand down, stepping the foot back, tall plank, holding that plank, and then pushing back into down dog. Pushing the head through, create the length through the spine. Knees can be bent or straight. And returning to tall plank. Stepping the right foot forward. Finding that position. And rotating the right hand up to the ceiling. And bringing the right hand back down to the mat, stepping the foot back, tall plank, pushing up into down dog. And returning to tall plank, bring the knees down. Quadruped position, a little shakeout, and then back to tall kneeling posture. So 2 cycles through there. So just take a minute here to relax. So we're going to take one more cycle through. On our last cycle through, we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to make the movements a little bit more flowy. We're going to transition between the movements a little bit more freely with a little less pausing. We took those first 2 to really try and relax out some of the tissue, and now we're going to focus a little bit more on the actual movements and focusing on the actual movement that we've established with some of those new positions. So starting with our spinal series, again, quadruped position to start, hands near the top of the mat. So we're going to be transitioning between the flexion child's pose, extension cobra pose, in a nice flow. So pushing back into child's pose, moving to cobra, back into child's pose, back into our extension cobra. Each time trying to see if you have a little bit more movement. Child's pose, cobra, getting that extension, back into child's pose, back to our cobra extension, child's pose again, back to extension with cobra, child's pose, and cobra. And coming back to hands and knees quadruped, give the spine a little bit of movement, and then coming back up into tall kneeling or seated position just to relax out. So there was a little bit of our spinal flow, moving through those, through that series a few more times to try and solidify that movement. So now we're going to go through our twisting lunge and down dog movement flow, but again, moving through with a little bit more movement. So starting from tall plank, stepping the left foot forward, rotate the left hand up to the ceiling, bringing the hand down, stepping the foot back, pushing up into down dog, back to tall plank, bringing the right foot forward, right hand to the ceiling. And while we're moving through this flow, trying to keep your breathing, pushing up into down dog, Tall plank, stepping the left foot forward, left hand to the ceiling. Bring the left hand back down, stepping the foot back, pushing to down dog. Returning to tall plank, stepping the right foot forward, right hand to the ceiling. Right hand down, stepping the right foot back, tall plank, pushing up into down dog. Tall plank, stepping the left foot forward, left hand to the ceiling. Left hand down to the mat, step back, down dog. Tall plank, right foot forward, right hand to the ceiling. Bringing the hand back to the mat, stepping the foot back, pushing up into down dog. Tall plank, stepping the left foot forward, left hand to the ceiling. Bringing the left hand down to the mat, stepping the left foot back, pushing up into down dog. Tall plank, stepping the right foot forward, right hand to the ceiling. Right hand down to the mat, stepping the right foot back, pushing up into down dog. Back to tall plank, and bringing the knees down to the mat into hands and knees. A little bit of movement through the body here. And then coming off the hands into seated or tall kneeling position. So again, a little bit more flow on that one, a few more times through our movements. And at this point here, we're gonna come back to whatever your comfortable seated position was. And we're gonna finish off again with a quick cycle through of our deep belly breathing. So again, tall seated position, whatever is most comfortable for you. Bringing your hands to the stomach for that visual palpation and that visual or that manual feel of that stomach movement. And our deep breathing, 3 to 5 seconds in through the nose. Bringing that air in past the chest into the stomach, and then exhale through the mouth. Nice and slow, 3 to 5 seconds. So again, just spending a bit of time there, continuing your breathing. You can have eyes open or eyes closed, whatever works best for you to get into a bit of that relaxation state. Spending a bit of time here, focusing on that breathing. Again, 3 to 5 seconds, nice deep breath in through the nose. Trying to move that air past the chest, down into the belly, trying to expand the rib cage, pushing out, a little brief hold, and then 3 to 5 seconds, nice and slow, out through the mouth. Again, focusing on that breathing just for a little bit more time here. Last little bit to really try and relax some of those muscle tissues. Taking one last breath cycle there. And slowly coming out of whatever that seated position was. If you need to kind of wake things up a bit, just move through the body a little bit. And that would conclude today's session. So once again, this was a simple yoga series, just a few movements to try and holistically move through a couple of the natural body positions. So a quick reminder from the beginning of the video, if you feel you sustained any injuries during this virtual training session, just make sure to seek out medical attention. And if you are a CAF member, just make sure to fill out a CF98. If you have any comments or concerns or feedback that you would like to provide, you can do that in the comments section below. Once again, thank you for watching today's virtual training session. And if you could, please subscribe to the YouTube channel with the subscribe button below and hit the notification to be able to see some of the other content that is available for our virtual training sessions on the page. Again, my name is James, Fitness and Sports Instructor here at CFB Kingston. Once again, thank you for watching and have yourself a great day and happy training.
PSP Kingston, the health and wellness provider for the military community.